Hey, welcome back, everybody. One of my favorite subs requested a Goblin drawing, so that's what we're going to do today. Apologies to Getty Images. We are going to start with the we're going to start by noticing that this Goblin's proportions are not those of a human. They're those of a goblin. How many heads tall is the goblin? Maybe 5 heads tall? Yeah, that's a good guess.
Maybe like 5 or 6.5 or 5.5.
Yeah, so we're gonna measure ahead and then make sure we have room for about 4 more coming down to the bottom of the page. That's what we do when we draw any figure. And we're going to try a little bit of the technique that we learned in the proportion unit. We're going to look at the angle of the clavicle. Notice that the points of the shoulders are not on a horizontal line. The shoulder on the left is coming down a little. So we're going to mark the points of the shoulders. And this is a little bit of geometry here. I'm going to think about where this point of the shoulder here is in relation to like the brow ridge. See that heavy brow ridge? And I'm going to look for the point of this shoulder in relation to the cheekbone. They're closer in than you think. And then I'm going to look for his sternum. Notice that his sternum is tilting, it's turned to our left, unlike his face, which is turned to our right. So here's the center line of the face, here's the center line of the rib cage. Your inclination is going to be to try to get those things to line up a little too much, so you want to resist that. And it might be useful too to compare the size of the head to the size of the rib cage. Normally your rib cage would be about 1.5 heads tall at least, and his rib cage is only 1 head tall, so it's because he's a goblin.
Now, goblins have this ordinance to protect them. That's the reason behind this. They don't have a worm, meaning they are soulless.
So we learned a construction method of kind of going from the points of the shoulders to the pubic arch. We could try that, but notice that because the rib cage is turned, it's not going to fit inside that triangle. It's going to be bulging out on either side, but it bulges out a lot more on this side because this is the side that the turn kind of exposes to us. I'd say this goblin's morphology is exactly what we expect of a goblin. It'll be useful to find the midpoint. The midpoint here. Remember, when we look for the midpoint, we're sort of, don't think about where the toes are. We're looking from the bottom of the heel to the top of the head. And I'm going to estimate the midpoint is in the general area of the navel. And so that should be about 2.5 heads from the top and 2.5 heads from the bottom. Notice that the midpoint is higher than normal because his head is so big. Normally we look for the midpoint around the pubic arch.
Eurocentric right standpoint. This is normal for goblins, okay?
I know it's normal for goblins. I'm not going to do arms until I have legs, and this is not a classic contrapposto pose. He's a little bit of a bow-legged little goblin, and that means his stance, he has a very open stance, and he's really distributing his weight onto both legs equally. Can you feel that? So
What'd you do if a goblin came to class one day?
You come to class every day.
Okay, but I'm not goblin, okay?
I think you're
It's ridiculous.
Come on, all
The
you
acting
want.
is God bless. I think you're a goblin. I think if a goblin came to class, I would probably be a goblin.
Would you exactly fall for a goblin? I feel like
Mr. Trolling, we better have some good feedback on this video when I upload it.
We'll see. You might have gotten in a car crash,
So notice that these ankles could never support these feet. But the important thing here is to notice that, and I want everyone to do this, please. Like, look for that point between the inner ears, center of balance, and then pull lines straight down, and we should end up between these two feet. And that's our tip off that the weight is evenly distributed. You'll notice even at this stage in the drawing, the proportions are disturbingly unhuman. So I'm going to start the arms as stick arms, which is just my way of evaluating the angles and the foreshortening. Notice that the forearm on this side is completely foreshortened out of existence. We don't even see it.
His hand's so big it covers up the whole thing.
Yeah, the hand actually covers it.
Oh, you can see the
And I'm also doing stick fingers to try to get the gesture of this hand. A lot of advanced artists kind of feel ashamed of using stick anything, but there is a time for evaluating just angles and simplifying things in that way. It is weird to draw non-human humanoids because, you know, I keep glancing at my drawing and feeling like I'm making mistakes, but then I look back at the reference and I'm like, okay, that's...
It's just because they're not fully integrated into society yet. You'll get used to it once they get the segregation laws.
So some of these anatomical features are going to help us with the orientation, like his nipples, if I can say that. So.
Well, actually on gobbles they're called grumpos, so. Gobbles.
We already have his little navel.
He's got a long thumb. I've
Well,
never
they call it the
And
coin hole.
at this stage in a drawing, I like to make my final. I like to do the portrait, as you know. So we're gonna. Here's what I want everyone to check, though. A lot of people, and tell me if you've done this, but a lot of people will resist the idea that the chin can ever overlap the shoulder. So I'm willing to bet that at least somebody out there drew like a neck and put a head on it and has the shoulder down here, because that's called a mental schema. That's how you think of things. Did anyone do that? Does anyone have like a distance between their chin and their shoulder in their drawing? Maybe not. This is a very advanced class. So be sure you've got that overlap. And notice that his eyes are not horizontally, they're kind of going on a slope like that. And don't draw the eyeballs until you've shadow mapped and shaded the eye socket. So there's one, there's the other. We're going to put a little shadow under the nose, and I'm going to put a little dark for that upper lip. And I'm going to see if I can just capture the expression of the goblin before I've done any details. So I just realized it's not going to look like a goblin without the ears, so let's... You got to understand that if you ever would like to be able to invent characters like this yourself, it's a good idea to spend a lot of time copying the work of other people who've already done so. Well, I'll disagree with you there, Adam.
So many kids are always drawing fan art of like their characters, and they just don't draw because all they draw is like Pokemon fan art or 5 Minutes of Freddy's fan art. It's all just boring.
5 minutes of Freddy's?
Like that, right? Oh yeah, 5 Minutes of Freddy's. You know what that is? I don't know what that is.
It's not 5 minutes.
I said 5 minutes.
I thought you said,
Okay, so I'm going to throw in a few other darks. There's a dark right here. There's a dark here. And that's just going to help me. I'm going to sort of virtually back up in a second and just see if the overall pattern of light and dark in my drawing corresponds to the pattern that I'm finding in the reference. Notice that this whole side of the rib cage is a little bit in shadow. And I'm kind of diverging a little from my normal first shading direction. I'm just sort of a little less formally throwing in some darks. And just I want you to notice how much easier it becomes to read what's happening in the drawing with these darks. And it's really useful to get that in before you start drawing the eyeballs and the finer grain details.
yes. It's like your whitewashing.
We've got a little shadow under the knee on this side, a little cast shadow going on to the upper part of the ankle.
Is anti-Semitic because like?
Yeah.
Oh goodness. Apologies, Jews.
Everybody loves goblins.
Everybody loves goblins. Yeah, you've just never met one.
You met one? Yeah, you love them until you meet them.
Yeah, they're.
When don't you meet a goblin?
Well, normally when you meet a goblin, you don't even know.
You already know.
No, you don't know. You don't even know.
Oh,
So notice that if you just sort of glance rapidly back and forth between my drawing and the photo or your drawing and the photo at this point, because those darks are there, you can really make a correspondence. And mine's feeling corresponded enough for me. I'm happy enough with how things are fitting together. So I'm going to, in a moment, finish the portrait. Although I'll tell you one thing, now that I'm assessing this a little more critically, I'm going to say that I feel like the eyes in my drawing are a little low. Can you see that?
Yes.
It's like that.
Or maybe it's just because you hadn't like done the brow line all the way. Maybe.
And well, I'm not. It's because I'm not used to drawing goblins. So look at how elevated that brow ridge is. So I'm going to lift the brow ridge a little, and you might see something totally different that you need to fix, but the important thing is that we're assessing the feeling of the drawing before we have committed to any details, especially the facial details. So that feels better to me. I just elevated that eye socket a little. Probably even elevate the light on the cheekbone a little. And the idea there is we're treating this like a lump of clay. We're just sort of pounding that clay into an approximation of the form before we sculpt down into any of the small details. So yeah, I feel like that's reasonable now. I think that's an improvement. Now the nose looks a little too long, so I'm going to just extend this dark up a little and put a little cast shadow under the nose. It's really a challenge to be drawing something with non-human proportions because everything that I've learned about where things belong is sort of out the window right now. But yeah, that feels better to me, and notice I've not committed to anything. It's just sort of trying to get that expression.
Now, what do you think he's saying? Because he's kind of got his hand out. He's about to talk.
I feel like he's gonna give someone a talking to.
Yeah, he's
Like a barbecue or something.
he's trying to lecture us
He was
about.
at a barbecue and some guy was like staring up his daughter and now he's mad.
Yeah, now he's mad.
He's an angry goblin. Yep.
No, I think he's like trying to seduce somebody. He's like, take my hand.
Oh, he's a seducing
I would.
goblin.
I think I'd take his hand, but I'd cut it off and sell it to science.
Look.
I got an idea.
Because he's like, imagine how much money you could get for a goblin hand.
Okay, so now we're gonna zoom in a little bit and
Put mine under the thingy.
okay. One of my students wants to share something with YouTube.
See?
Oh,
That's the vibe.
that's the vibe right there. Yeah.
I think he's skinny now. Goblin, yeah, I think you're too skinny.
The whole world's gonna see all the shenanigans that go on in my
The
class.
whole world watches your videos?
Actually, every single person
Yeah.
ever watches his videos.
No, I started getting a lot of viewers recently.
Really, how many, like 2,000?
I have subscribers all over the world now.
Really? Are you like
Yo, now
joking?
you're gonna have more. Who's not gonna want to watch you draw Goblin?
Oh yeah, after this one. So notice that it's really easy to place the eyes because I already did the eye sockets. Like normally I'd have to measure the distance between them and everything. Now I know where they fit because I already did that shading. And everything comes together just so much faster and easier if you've already sort of organized the lights and the darks.
I think this goblin might be trans nice. See his top secret stuff.
He does actually. Well, he's a goblin.
Wait, why is that, Adam?
Because it's like he has like the scars where
Top surgery.
he got
Oh, you think those are scars? Okay.
You think you had top surgery?
I think he just looks like a goblin.
Yeah, that could just be what
a goblin is.
Goblin. It's just, well, he might be hundreds of years old.
No, goblins are very small. They have like they only live to be 40. They're like turtles in that regard.
Don't turtles? I thought turtles.
Turtles live long.
No, tortoises live like 100 years.
Oh.
Turtles live like 40 years.
So to get this expression, we have to make a second line below the top one to show a little bit of teeth. And we're going to shade across the bottom lip.
No, goblins aren't magical. They're just an offshoot of humanity.
A superior offshoot. That's why they live long.
That's why they live in trees and they eat coins.
I was in trees.
They eat coins and collect
They collect coins and they use the coins and they barter with the coins.
They eat coins?
No, you don't need coins to cast spells. You need spell slots. Grr.
I used to collect coins.
You see, goblins don't get a good intelligence bonus when making characters. You don't normally use goblin wizard.
No, I was like
Part of Social Security.
I was a numismatist.
A numismatist. Is that like some sort of like neurotic?
I was obsessed with coin collecting as a child.
Hey, do you have like any sort of autism? Do you know what?
Probably.
Mr. Alec, what would you do if your YouTube channel like blew up and you could actually live off it and you didn't need to come to work anymore?
Well, how would you make videos if you didn't come to work?
That's true.
I've made these at home. That's how I started making them during the pandemic.
They wouldn't have as much pizzazz and spirit.
Yeah, I know.
They wouldn't have the commentary.
Little comments.
Yeah, they wouldn't have. Mr. Alec.
Well, the thing is, I have a directional microphone, so it's not picking up your comments very well.
I fear that after I graduate, there's not gonna be like no one's gonna push for Darmans anymore, and that'll like kind of.
I'll push for
But you gotta like pass it on to younger generations. You gotta do that too.
Okay, any questions so far? Are we doing okay on this head?
I have a question. So, do you think for a goblin he would be considered attractive, or do you think like?
Yes.
Yes.
He has W ribs,
Come
I'm
on.
telling you.
He does have like a
Look at that
A1
chisel
alpha male
face.
jawline,
Uh-huh.
but he also has the old Uncle Scooter jawline.
He's got a slim.
I don't know, Adam.
I think he's like a confident, like 40-year-old man.
Do you think he like?
They only lived to 40 though. He's practically dead.
They only live to 40?
No,
That's what Adam claims.
It is true. Babies don't live to. Babies are small. They only live to like 2. So imagine this thing's like 20 times the size of a baby.
He's a middle-aged goblin looking for love. That's
But it's
what
like
it is.
the women he chooses are like way too young for him. He
Yeah.
doesn't realize it.
In case you can't hear, my students are debating if this would be considered an attractive goblin or not. Why don't you
I think yours would, but the one on the left wouldn't.
go? Feel free to throw your own opinion into the comments.
Below.
Yeah, Mr.
The comments below.
And while you're at it, smash that.
Smash that subscribe button too. Yeah. I think this can be my biggest video ever.
Ask them if they have any drawing requests, because that'll get you a lot of comments.
Oh
And
yeah.
that'll boost
Yeah, ask
the
for
video's
that.
analytics, and that'll get you on the front page. You gotta see this
It's
guy.
like when you blow up like love. Oh, I
Um,
love yours.
So here's a nice little detail to pay attention to. Notice the cast shadow under the pectoralis muscle. It falls, it goes over this rib, and then it changes direction when it goes onto the abdominal area. And that the way this shadow is moving in and out really describes the form very clearly. So you have to pay attention to things like that.
Can we zoom out?
Yes.
Yeah, this is just me again. I need to see his hands and stuff.
I need to see his glorious figure.
I need to see his pretty mug. My goodness.
Do you think this goblin, like, if his nephew came out as gay, do you think the goblin would be supportive, or do you think he'd be homophobic?
No, he's
I
homophobic.
think that.
I think he's
Yeah,
homophobic,
I
but that's
think
only
he
because he had like an
was
experience in his
Homophobic
youth.
goblin I've
Yeah,
ever
yeah.
seen.
I think he's homophobic, but because like something bad happened to him when he was a kid that he doesn't tell anyone else. In the
I
family.
think
Oh,
he had.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
think he
yeah.
had a
He was
boyfriend
definitely,
who
like,
was
assaulted.
Yeah, he had like a Boy Scout experience, right?
I think he had
Boy Scout.
he was dating a man in college and he like cheated out on her.
Oh. All guys are the same. I'm single.
He's like, nice guys finish class.
No.
I always go for the chats. All female to the game. All they do is go for chats.
All women do is.
He's definitely like
All
very
women
into
do
manly
Do you think he
culture.
listens to Joe Rogan?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I don't
Every
think so. I
morning
think
he drinks his black
I
coffee.
think-
listens to Joe Rogan.
I think he's a casual.
I think he was homophobic, but when his niece came out as transgender, she changed his mind.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. They had a special bond. Are there gay goblins?
Of course there are. Gay thing? Did you know homosexuals practice in over 3,000 species? That means goblins are probably one of them. I think he works at Kohl's.
Oh, no, he doesn't work
He
there, but he
works at
shops
like
there.
Marshalls or something, or like Home Goods.
What's like the difference?
Or like a.
How do you make the distinction of a goblin who works at Kohl's versus Marshalls?
He works at Bob's.
He works at like some
What are they called?
like the stores with the
I think he
they sell you, like,
actually.
the screws.
I think his job is he.
Hardware store, yes.
I think he just has a metal detector
like
and he metal
owns
detects.
one.
I don't think he does any
So
work.
he has a metal detector, yeah.
That's all he does for his job. And he tried making like a YouTube account for it, but he has 2 videos of 500 total views.
Denise, she's France.
And no, but he also has that.
I think
I
he
feel like you know the
dodged the goblin.
uncle and nephew in Undertime Slopper.
Yeah, he's
I
like.
think he's the uncle.
Do you think he's the uncle? I think the uncle is the viewer. I think the uncle is the viewer.
You look so confused, I love it.
So really were they uncles?
Yeah, so it's like.
Well, I'm looking for my nephew. Where is he? Where's my uncle? Give him to me.
Mr. Alec, I wrote out a scene online, can we show it to the viewers?
You wrote a scene?
Yes.
Yeah.
The viewers have to see.
It's a little speech.
Will you hold something for me? What? My hand.
He's holding out his hand.
That's adorable.
That's what's happening. My narrative.
I put my microphone the other way so that I could capture all this.
Every great romance.
I hope all this audio comes through.
You should do a podcast where you talk about like really pretentious things people have already said before on the podcast.
Then they'll agree with you.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
And it'd be the most successful podcast.
Yeah, you could call it Alec Rogan.
I like that you put his last name.
It's because saying Bill is disrespectful.
Alec Rogan.
Excuse me, William. See, he's not responding to that. He doesn't respond to his first name.
Mm-mm.
Mr. Alec, does your wife call you William or like honey or whatever?
Does your wife call you honey?
Yeah, what does your wife call you? I have a bit. You have to answer. I have a bit.
She calls me Bill.
She calls you Bill? Dang it, I was gonna say, what would you do if she started calling you Billiam?
That's probably happened.
Probably. I'd probably start crying. I think she wasn't
Call you
real.
honey.
Should I do any pet names for your wife?
Why are you asking this?
Yeah, we're still recording here, Adam. Come on. Let's keep it to the goblin lore.
The goblin, okay.
Let's stick to goblins.
Well, it's just the goblin.
Hello, welcome back to the Goblin's Lair. I'm Goblin. This is my YouTube channel.
What's good for the goblin?
What's good for the goblin?
What's good, goblins?
What's good, my goblins? I think if there was like a real goblin army in real life that came to attack specifically.
There is, what do you mean?
That came to attack Connecticut, I think the goblins would win.
The
Oh,
goblins
come
would
on,
win.
without a doubt.
The goblins
We
would
wouldn't
win
stand a
against
chance.
You think a goblin would take the video on it?
No.
No. I don't think so.
This is where I reveal that I've been secretly a goblin this entire time.
That's not true, that's a lie.
I don't believe it.
I mean, what are you, 5 foot? That's like 2 inches above the top.
I've got 5 foot.
What's the average goblin?
I don't know.
The average goblin height's like 4'1".
For one.
I think I could be 2 goblins. And they're both little
I'm 2 goblins in a trench coat.
Well, that would add up to like 8 feet.
I'm
Well,
1.5
she's two
goblins
children.
in a trench coat.
See, I'm 2 goblins, but they're sideways. So 1 foot,
The
1 hand.
sideways moving
and
goblin.
the
Sideways moving goblin.
What would you do if there's an actual sideways moving goblin?
There is.
Oh, there isn't. You saw it.
We saw it with our own
I
eyes.
saw it. What do you
On
mean?
video.
Dude, we saw it on the green footage on a green camera.
What, are you telling me that's not what
Sideways moving
Oh my
goblin.
god, are you trying to say you don't believe in goblins?
I'm trying to say that video is like it's dog whistle. It's not like real.
Here's a sideways moving goblin.
No fucking way! It is him just moves up and down. You think the drawing is coming to the real world? I think the goblin world is coming to the real world.
Okay,
The goblins are coming for us.
okay, I'm gonna say goodbye to our viewers at home.
You gotta have an outro, Mr. Alec. You have to make it say I love undertime.
Oh, you need a goblin related
Mr.
outfit?
Alec,
Remember to
please
like
say
and
I love
subscribe.
Undertime Slumber.
I love
Okay.
Undertown.
Mr. Alec, please say